there are two or three things that we are consistently hearing from the youth ever since the COVID started. First of them, clearly, there is a phenomenal anxiety among the youth about whether they are going to lose, whether they're going to have the employment opportunities going forward or not, or the very fact that they are closeted in the homes, etc. So that's filled them with the anxiety. Second, clearly, education institutes being closed is creating a lot of challenges for most, while the digital initiatives are being rolled out. Many are not really being able to take advantage of those digital initiatives, and then there is also a big loss in terms of education quality.
In addition to the fact that are the skills that people are currently have, are these skill sets applicable to the post-COVID world? Because things have obviously changed. The sectors that were resilient pre-COVID are not the sectors that are going to be resilient post-COVID. In such transient times, what's most important is to be able to sort of not only deepen our partnerships, but sort of create new ones as well. The IT and ITES sector, e-commerce, logistics, pharma and healthcare are some of the sectors that will show resilience going forward. The mode of delivery is going to change. We cannot assume that people will start filling in classrooms going forward. So are we prepared for remote support or for blended or online learning? The skilling mix, I don't think we can anymore just talk about skilling. We will also have to start talking about reskilling and upskilling. The loop has to be closed by ensuring that the learners or the youth get jobs. So this will require a very synchronized effort with the corporate world in trying to understand where are the jobs, and sort of ensuring that the demand meets supply.
So one thing I think which is emerging is what are those skills which, irrespective of I think what context you are in, irrespective of whether the context changes, you are still able to survive in that, you are able to adapt to that. We are making this final move from being organized around repetition to being organized around change, which is completely opposite, which requires completely different type of skill set, which requires completely different kind of mindset and abilities. And the question in front of all of us is how quickly, more at an individual level and also at an institutional level, we can transition to this new world as soon as possible.
As countries try to open up, I think three things are coming out very clearly as lessons from the COVID experience. The first is that, businesses that were able to innovate and adapt during the COVID are going to open up much quickly and recover and remain strong. I think that's quite clear. You can see a lot of businesses, and I can name many examples. The second is that I think persistence and grit is going to distinguish real entrepreneurs from those chance entrepreneurs. And that happens in every instances of crisis. The real entrepreneurs are those that are persistent and grit. So mindset will play a very critical role in survival. And then I think the last thing that we have seen, and this is from mostly large businesses, but also small enterprises, those businesses that have a very strong social, environmental, and economic footprints are going to come out much stronger. The first question is really, how can our programs ensure that we develop innovative and adaptable businesses that respond to the climate and technological challenges that we have now and into the future? So I think that's the first question we need to ask ourselves as we program into the future. The second question is really, how do we ensure that our programs for entrepreneurs don't only count number of jobs created, but also look at the quality of jobs and ensure that those jobs can provide social security, can be able to provide an income that supports the individual, and can be able to provide safe working spaces. The third thing that we need to ask ourselves for organizations programming in this area is really, how do we develop innovative financial tools that help reduce both predictable and unpredictable risks for businesses.
It is almost unfair to, in a way, pass the burden of change to the learner entirely. You cannot just say that the learner has to change this, that, and all of that. The ecosystem will also have to start thinking about change within themselves, which is, if we are going to shift to online learning or to blended learning, then the trainers will have to be trained accordingly to be able to execute on such delivery mechanisms. That's one. And two, the employer, for example, will also have to have the mindset that an online training is almost as good, if not better, than an in-class training.
Collaboration where the government brings the power of having access to so many students and technology being brought in by private players is a great collaboration. One of the areas where we feel that there is a ray of hope is the youth engagement side, and from the youth engagement leading to some learning of 21st century skills.
When you're talking about online learning, how do you actually make it an experience for that young person, which then actually teaches them something rather than just talking about it across the screen?
First is around the skills piece and what we call, transitional skills, or whatever you want to call them. Yesterday I read a quote from one of my friends who is the founder of Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship, Ravi Venkatasan, and he said that what young people need to thrive is to build durable skills that last them 50 years, and those skills that make them human. These skills are so foundational that when the wall is broken, you can actually reconstruct the building into a hotel or into a restaurant or into a house, because you have these reinforced concrete pillars that allows you to be malleable, to be adaptable, but also allows you to stand strong. So before even we talk about the whole conversation of education to employment, we need to start reimagining what is foundational to the education. From the experiences we have had, there's no doubt that collaboration is critical and that we have to build better. But we can only build better if we look at 50 years in advance. If we start planning in advance, we start thinking, we talk about the future of education, the future and employment. And the question that we need to ask ourselves, both civil society and all the organizations, what would 50 years look like? What would be the job of 50 years look like?
Whether you are an individual or an institution, I think if you know something which is working, share. And if you need help, then ask for help. So all of us, I think, will come out of the situation as a community. And I think we all need to start empathizing with each other. And we at Ashoka call empathy being the new literacy. So let's make it real. Let's have everyone really mastering that skill of empathy and helping each other.